Toronto Blue Jays signed Justin Turner yesterday, and today we're going to break down the real reason as to why they brought in the 39-year-old who has had some great success at the plate throughout his career. So we'll have that on Jays Digest, as well as Ross Atkins. He spoke out about the acquisition, and he had a lot to say about our new DH. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, Justin Turner, not the flashiest signing by any means, but if you look at the numbers, he would have been one of the best players on the Blue Jays roster last season. He hit nearly 25 home runs. He drove in nearly 100 runs, which would have been first on the team, and he's just clutch. He's got that clutch gene about him, and when the moment was the biggest last year, he had astronomical numbers in high leverage situations. We looked at his baseball reference, Nick and I, and he had an OPS nearing 900 in high leverage situations. So that's late game situations, situations with runners in scoring position. So he's a veteran guy. He knows his way around the batter's box, and he's been very successful throughout his career. And I expect more of the same this season. Nick, the more hours that go by, the more excited I am about this signing, and I think he's going to find a great home in the middle of this Blue Jay lineup.
Yeah, the more you look into it, the more it makes a lot of sense, and Ross Atkins kind of said some things that we'll break down today. Before we do, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. About 73% of you aren't subscribed, so if you aren't already, scroll down and hit that button. Now, Peter, there is a few reasons, I think, obviously aside from just his hitting, that the Jays brought in Justin Turner, and we can just get right into them now. And this is one of them, and this is a big part of it. And Peter, you actually mentioned it yesterday before everyone hopped on the train, and it's about eliminating strikeouts, and obviously about the veteran presence we'll discuss later. But I think eliminating strikeouts is a big part of this signing, one of the main reasons, and that's what's kind of floating around Jays land today. Justin Turner does not strike out very much, and it wasn't just this signing. You think of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who also doesn't strike out very much. Kevin Kiermaier also doesn't strike out very much. Chapman, who's gone, did strike out very much. Brandon Bell struck out a ton as well. So they're eliminating the strikeouts, which is very, very interesting. What are your thoughts on this? I'm happy that hopefully we will no longer see a ton of strikeouts in high leverage situations.
Well, there's been a lot of outcry about Justin Turner being so old, and he's pushing 40, and we're not sure what kind of impact he's going to have. He's just a professional hitter, and we hear that term a lot, but it's true for Justin Turner. He's had some great years in Los Angeles. He was very good last season in Boston, and you could even argue that he had a tougher role than J.D. Martinez did on the L.A. Dodgers. J.D. Martinez, you look at that Dodger lineup, I mean, this guy was insulated by Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, two MVPs, two guys that are widely considered top 10 players in the game today. So that's a lot of protection, and maybe his job was made a little bit easier. But if you look at the Boston Red Sox, they finished last place in the AL East. They didn't have a good season. Who did Justin Turner have to insulate him in that lineup? It was Rafael Devers, but he still made the most of what was given to him. And 96 RBIs in a season is nothing to laugh at. And he was clutch. As I mentioned earlier in the intro, Nick, an 885 OPS in high leverage situations. That's big time. The guy knows what big moments are all about. He's played in World Series before. He's gone on deep postseason runs, as did Brandon Belt, but they're very different hitters. Brandon Belt is kind of all or nothing approach, very three true outcome type of guy, whereas Justin Turner he'll get on base for you, he'll draw walks, he won't strike out, and he understands the situation. He's able to adjust to specific situations, something that Brandon Belt wasn't really able to do last year. Even though he was very good for the Jays, he had great numbers, he wasn't able to just slap one in play. That's not the kind of player that he is.
Yeah, they're trying to eliminate strikeouts, and rightfully so. It definitely makes it hard to watch. And a quick note on his deal, you can see all these incentives here. So Peter, if he does play, or the more games he plays, the more money he gets, and then all this MVP stuff, I would highly doubt that he gets there. But let's go on to Ross Atkins' comments here about what he had to say about Justin Turner. So he said, Justin Turner has proven himself not only as an exceptional player on the field, but also off the field as a clubhouse leader. And basically goes on to say his history developing in big moments, like you mentioned, and his consistent pursuit of winning are admirable traits. Additionally, you have charitable stuff. Moral of the story, he's a veteran presence who's going to help not really young guys anymore, but help, I guess, the younger players who are on the team. He's going to be a great hitter, and he's going to be a great clubhouse guy. So I think ultimately it's going to be very interesting to see what it kind of happens going forward with Justin Turner. Hopefully he's able to become a decent hitter and got to go back to what he was or continue to do what he's doing, especially now that he's 39 years old. But I don't know. veteran presence, a guy who doesn't strike out. What is there not to like about this signing? I don't know. And I mean, the contract is pretty friendly too, and maybe he can go back and inspire himself with some a big deal from back in 2020 and 2019 with his Dodgers time.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, you look at Justin Turner, and he's just someone that's solid, someone that's going to help out this Blue Jays lineup. But he's coming in here to be a help to those other guys. He's not going to be the focal point of the offense, which is why the Jays have been betting on internal options, just taking that next step and regaining their form. George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Bo Bichette has to stay consistent with how he's been over the past few years. But those three guys just need to step it up, and they need to be the main talking points in this lineup. Justin Turner is coming in here and he's going to help. He's going to complement those guys. But if you're expecting him to be the 30-year-old Justin Turner that was fantastic in LA, it might not happen. He's not gonna have an OPS near 1,000. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna come in here and be a complimentary piece. But I believe that he can do that to the best of his abilities. And look at those RBI totals. You go up and down his years, and it's just been very consistent. You know what you're getting out of Justin Turner. I don't think he's gonna slow down next year. Maybe he'll take a bit of a step back, but he's solid. He's a veteran guy, and the bat speed is still there. The swing and miss is not in his game. So those are all things that I think can carry over into next season, and I'm very excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of intangibles, obviously, with this signing, specifically the veteran leadership stuff. And Chris Bassett also came out. We might cover that later. Basically just praising the signing, saying they needed a guy like that in the clubhouse, and he's a proven leader. He's a winner. And one other thing to mention is that when you look at his OPS, the first couple months of the season and then the last month or so of the season, he had very poor hitting stats, and that can be attributed to essentially an injury that came out. And this is kind of blowing up on Jay's Twitter. Essentially, Justin Turner was injured a good bit, but he would never want to back out and stop playing. So if he's healthy, Peter, essentially what's happening is, I mean, obviously he's going to play anyway. He's an absolute dog. He's going to keep playing. But if he's fully healthy, he was putting up an OPS near 950, which is very, very high. So if he can get healthy, stay healthy throughout the season, obviously he's 39 years old. That's a big if. But if he can stay healthy and just we've seen when he's healthy, he is one of the best hitters in baseball, and it gets me a little bit excited, even though it's not as flashy as a signing like Jorge Soler, Cody Bellinger. I think there's a good chance that he might have similar output to Jorge Soler, obviously not as much power, but I think he'll do some other things that might provide equal value to Soler while only on a one-year deal with incentives. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just think this is a hitter that's better suited for this Blue Jays lineup. And we weren't really talking about Justin Turner. The thought of him being 39 years old and being one of the middle of the order bats in this lineup, it was kind of scary to a lot of Jays fans. It was kind of turned us off a little bit to the idea, Nick. But as we think about it more, he's just been consistent and very similar to what JD Martinez was last year. Just solid, someone that is a professional hitter that gets on base, that knows his role, and he's going to have a big role on this team. Yes, the secret is him staying healthy and him being in that lineup every day. But I think if he's the DH, it's going to help in him being healthy and just being available on a daily basis. He still had to play over 300 innings at first base last year and close to 60 innings at third base for the Boston Red Sox. So hopefully he doesn't have to play the field much and he can just focus on hitting, and I think that's where he'll shine the most for this Blue Jays lineup.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll have some protection behind him, especially if Vladdy gets back to his old self. But that'll wrap it up. If you want to check out a video from yesterday, click on your screen now. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the signing.